Hello and welcome to EV Focus Now, and today we're going to talk about a change of opinion basically on EVs ranges and how far EVs should go. Today we're basically going to talk about why I believe, after I would say changed my mind on this 2 years ago, why long range EVs are needed more than ever right now when taking road trips especially. So we're going to get into that, but first I'd like to have you all just hit the like and subscribe button below. It really helps the channel. Thank you all for tuning in again, and I really appreciate it. So we are seeing more and more car manufacturers come out with compelling long range EVs. This is great news for the industry, and people are realizing the advantages and the savings of having an EV. But now we're seeing the results of more EVs on the road when taking road trips especially. These EVs basically out there are using level 3 chargers most of the time, basically all the time on a road trip pretty much. Let you stay in overnight at a hotel where you might use level 2. But these level 3 chargers are unfortunately, and I'm not talking about excluding Tesla, I'm talking about EA, Electrify America of course, and EVgo and a couple other ones out there. They're not as reliable as Tesla, and they're being used more and more consistently and breaking down and not available. So what that is causing with more and more EVs on the road is long lines, situation where you can't charge, you're not getting max speeds, all those things together. And it's creating a real problem with taking a road trip. Now 2 years ago, like I said, I was on the side that EVs only need to have between 200 and 250 miles for an average overall range. For any new V coming out, because you could pretty much get in where you need to go. The infrastructure, charging infrastructure, is getting so much better, and it's getting so many more chargers installs through major freeway corridors and right off the freeway, that hey, it didn't matter if you didn't need a long range EV, because you can just, every 50 or 75 miles there's going to be a level 3 charger. You can charge up and keep going and save money with a smaller battery. Well, my opinion on that has changed quite a bit, and basically over the last 6 months I've seen a lot of this. I do road trips myself, and my reasons behind why I think my opinion has changed pretty much is, of course, I thought, hey, with increasing infrastructure, that's great. With EVs now charging at 400, 800 volts, hey, you get it like let's say the EV6, the Ioniq 5, they charge from 10% to 80% in around 18 minutes. That's fantastic. So with that, I was definitely on the side of smaller batteries. But on my last 3 road trips I've taken, I've seen 3 problems which have led to me rethinking my position on why we need longer, at least 300 plus mile EVs out there. And of course, this is my opinion based on my experiences and what I've seen. So yours may vary, but tell me, definitely tell me what you think in the comments section below. But these 3 problems, more than 3 problems actually, but I've seen quite a couple of things happening out on the road. So first is, the EV reliability is still poor. Like I said, Tesla's the only one that you can plug in and you know it's going to work. And there's many Tesla chargers out there. Of course, there's many EA and EVgo chargers as well. So that also works out, to the advantage of the consumer, that they're able to find these stations relatively easy. But are they reliable? Are they working? And does cold weather affect them? I don't know if you watched Kyle Connor on his video video channel, YouTube channel anyway, Out of Spec. He tested some in Colorado during our 3 weeks ago, our snowstorm, big snowstorm through the U.S. And the new EA chargers didn't work. They're brand new, they didn't work, and that still is becoming a problem. So if you think you're taking a road trip and you pull up and you're like, oh, the chargers don't work, you're stuck unless you can find another one right away, and that's a big problem out there. Another thing I've noticed is overcrowding at level 3 stations, especially during holidays and weekend travel. We have so many EVs being sold that are not Teslas out there, that if there's an install of 8 chargers and 4 are not working, that's a big deal when you have multiple EVs out there who rely on CCS and they can't charge. So you get lines, you get backups, and it's making road trips much longer and convenient for people. That's not the experience that anybody wants who's driving an EV, or the EV manufacturer. They don't want that at all. Number 3, EV charging education and ethics. This is very important, and I really don't know what can be done about this except there's more education for the people buying the cars. So people, unfortunately, are pulling up and charging to 100% due to the fact they think they need it, or they have a free charging plan like ID4s, even the Ioniq 5s. They're free unlimited charging pretty much. So because of that, there's no idle fees, no downside to it. So people are charging to 100% when they really don't need to. On a road trip, 80% you get going, maybe 90%, but charging to 100% can add at least 35 minutes more to your time because it charges at such a slow rate, depending on what kind of EV you have. But we've seen this more and more and more. So I really don't think that people are being educated right, and this is probably from the point from when they buy the vehicle from the carrier. They really don't know what's going on. They're being told, hey, you know what, you can use EA and charge 100%, it's free, and they're doing it instead of being told, hey, you only need to charge 80%, get to your next stop, and keep going. So they just sit there in the charger. That's one of the major problems. Also, people don't understand which chargers to use for EVs either. And now here's a perfect example. I was driving down the road, and this wasn't on a road trip, but I've seen this on road trips as well. And I was driving past one of my gas stations. They had a EVgo 50 kilowatt charger there. There was a person sitting there with a Mach-E performance. Okay, now a Mach-E can charge up to 150 kilowatts, even a little more than that. And this person is sitting there at a 50 kilowatt charger when just down the street, maybe 2 miles, so there's an EA station where they can take advantage of, 150 kilowatt charging much faster and be out of there instead of waiting at a 50 kilowatt charger charging for about 45 minutes. Now, normally I would go over there and educate the person, hey, you can charge down here and stuff, but I increasingly have seen more and more problems when you're trying to help people. They think you're trying to trick them or you're trying to use a charger instead of this. You're trying to help them and give them some education, but they know it already. They've been told everything from the dealership, so they are resistant to listen in most cases, what I've seen pretty much. So that's another problem. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But finally, another issue is the parking of their EVs to make room for others. People are parking all kind of ways. They're parking in two parking spots. They're parking sideways, and there is a etiquette, so to speak, to parking your EV and understanding that other people need to charge. You got to be, understanding that, and be understanding that these, you can't block two chargers. Now you can't sit there all day at a charger too, waiting to go to 100% when there's a line there and people are trying to charge. That education is basically just common sense, I would think, and just thinking of your fellow EV charger out there who looking to get their vehicle charged and get on their way. And there are people, I've seen people just parking anyway and leave and go inside to eat or mall. And unfortunately, they're blocking two spots sometimes, or their vehicle's not over enough, and it's making it hard for another vehicle to get in there to charge, especially if there's limited chargers working. So that's also another issue I've seen out there. Due to all these factors, I am now looking for my future EV to have more than 300 miles of range. I have a Tesla Model 3 gets 250 miles roughly now. I got a Mach-E Select, 250 miles, 247 miles, and I have an ID4 that gets around 260 miles. And I was convinced that's enough, but I am now seeing that I need to get a range of 300 miles or more, at least on one of those vehicles. Well, the next vehicle will have a EV range of 300 miles. Now, my road trips are, for me, range between 230 and 260 miles on one way. So obviously, if I'm able to get a 300 mile EV, I can make it all the way to my destination without even charging at all, get to my destination, charge overnight or charge at a hotel, and then be fully charged and come all the way home without even relying on level 3, which is my goal right now, to try to avoid level 3 chargers all the way until the public can get more educated, so people have more common sense of what to do, how to charge, where to charge, what charger to use, all those things. So I like to avoid all these pitfalls by having a full charge from home and then charging to my destination and then back home again. It takes 35 to 45 minutes of my commute for charging and not having to wait, off my commute anyway, for not having to wait for any level 3 charging. So I can save 45 to an hour just driving straight through instead of waiting. I tried to, again, as I spoke of earlier, try to politely educate EV drivers, but usually I'm met with, oh, I'm fine, or I know what I'm doing comments, or they won't even respond if you're walking up to them and knocking their window, trying to just educate them for the next time so they know. It helps them too. So I've stopped doing this altogether, and trying to educate people with EVs and what to do, because they're being told wrong information from the dealership. The dealerships are not telling them the right things because they're not really educated. They're just selling EVs. They don't know charging infrastructure. They don't know to tell a person, hey, your car, this BMW iX can charge up to 200 kilowatts. Try to use a charger of 150 or 350. Don't sit at a 50 kilowatt charger on this stuff like that. That's just common sense. But I don't blame the people. They don't know, and they think that you're trying to confuse them or steal their charger when you come up to them, and that's not the case. So I try to avoid these issues all the way and all together. And maybe when Tesla opens up their charging network to all of North America, like they have in Europe, maybe things will change a little bit. You'll have more chargers available, more reliable chargers. So maybe, hey, that's supposed to happen, I think, the next 5 or 6 months. Who knows what Elon time is when he decides to do this. But when that happens, two things are going to happen. You're at least going to have reliable chargers. So, yeah, if you're driving a smaller range EV, the Tesla charger is going to work. But then again, what is Tesla going to charge those non-Teslas to charge there? And then you have a whole nother issue about charging at Tesla chargers that's going to create a big problem. The Tesla chargers, cables are not that long. They're designed for Tesla, so they're designed to be, to back your car in, the charge ports on the left-hand rear corner, and there it is. Very few EVs have their chargers there. Some are in the front, some are on the right-hand side, some are in the right corner. I will say this, though, Polestar, they have theirs on the left, right-hand corner like Tesla. So they're going to be easiest to charge on a Tesla charger. They just back in, and it's real easy. But the other manufacturers, Ford, GM, theirs all on the front, not bumper, but just behind the wheel well on the driver's side, right below the mirror usually. So those are going to be very difficult to charge and stretch over. You're almost going to have to take 2 spots to do it. So that's going to be a problem. But this is my idea that I think I'm just going to go that route. I'm going to definitely look for longer range EVs now because I just don't want to deal with the hassle of it. And as we get more and more and more EVs on the road, we're going to have more and more issues, more and more crowding. And I just rather avoid it. At least on my road trips that I take, it works for me, 260 miles max. And a 300-mile EV will get me there fully without stopping, and then charge overnight and get me back. So that's the way I'm going to go. But I really want to hear what you think. Have you experienced this? Have you seen these issues where people are blocking chargers or using the wrong chargers or don't know, charging 100% when they don't need to, or chargers just not working, period? These are big problems that have to be fixed. But until they are, I really don't going to try to avoid them altogether. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, plus hit the notification button to stay on top of all my new videos. And remember, when it comes to EVs, stay focused. Bye-bye.